Hello, chefs. This is Chef's PSA. I'm your host, André Natera. Today I'm joined by my friend, Chef Kevin Fink of Emmer Rye Hospitality. Food and Wine Best New Chef, Michelin Green Star recipient for Emmer Rye, and Michelin Star for Hestia. We talk about the realities of career progression in the kitchen, what it takes to build and sustain multiple successful restaurants, how to balance life outside of work, the importance of quality ingredients, and the partnerships that make it all possible. Stay tuned. This episode of Chef's PSA is brought to you by Foods in Season, your connection to what's wild, fresh, and exceptional. At Foods in Season, ingredients tell a story. Built on decades-long relationships, wild Columbia River king salmon, dip net caught by native tribal families, fresh morels from trusted foragers, handcrafted pantry essentials like Blease, bourbon-aged maple syrup, sherry 9 vinegar, and exquisite Prima truffle products. Top chefs nationwide trust Foods in Season for quality and consistency. Order today, have it on your line tomorrow. Visit foodsinseason.com and mention Chef's PSA and receive free shipping plus a complimentary sample box on your first order.
For me, when you talk about our industry, what a lot of people don't talk about is career progression in it.
Mm-hmm.
And you talk about how great it is to be a cook and all the places that you're going to stage and the Michelin stars. But you don't talk about your life cycle on earth and then how you earn into that. And so for every 20-year-old cook, you're going to naturally filter out 95% of them by the time that they turn 40 to where they have to do something else. And if you're looking at a career where you know out of 20 people that are here, only one of them really has a career in that past 40, they all are going to have to figure something else to do. That's a problem in our industry.
Can you go a little bit deeper in that? Because I think that's an important subject I don't think anyone's touched on the podcast yet.
Well, if you look at a brigade and there's 10 people there and you know that there's only 2 sous chef positions and 1 chef de cuisine position, right? You feel that pyramid happening. But even for that, there's a time where you age out of being able to be on the line. And so you've worked your entire career for this progression of food and how you're thinking about these things and what that meant. But you can't do that when you're 50. And you don't think about what that means in the struggle to get to the pinnacle of your career and then really start to look at what the next options are. Because no other career does that. Because you're a doctor, you know you're going to be a doctor until you're retiring. If you're a lawyer, the same exact thing. Really, even a teacher, you get tenured into that. As a cook, you get retired and put out to pasture.
I did an episode way early in Chef's PSA. It was a solo episode where I talked about how becoming an executive chef is actually the exception to the rule. When you think about how many people are in the industry, just becoming an executive chef is the exception.
Right.
And then becoming a good executive chef is a greater exception. And then, winning a Michelin star is even the furthest exception. And I think a lot of people don't realize that when they do get into the industry.
Well, and part of why we do this is because there's a form of creativity and cooking for others, right? We're nurturers. We want to make sure that we're taking care of people, right? You go over to a cook's house, they always have something, for you, right? That is very much how we kind of, for lack of a better word, like get off on this, is to make sure that we're taking care of people in that. And I think what often happens is you don't take care of yourself very well then. Most people who nurture other people do a really bad job of nurturing themselves. And you don't look further than the next thing, right? When I'm a cook, I really want to be a sous chef. When I'm a sous chef, I really want to be an executive. You get to an executive chef, you're like, okay, great. What do I do now?
Yeah. So what do you do?
Well,
well, first of all, let's go back. If you were advising cooks, let's start there, because they're coming into the industry. They're green, they're bright-eyed, they want to become chefs. How would you say, hey, look, you're early, you should start thinking about this now, because when you're thinking about it when you're 40, it's too late?
Yeah. So I don't have the solve for that.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's the thing that we're trying to solve together. And why I bring it up that way is because I think on a whole, we accept that our position in the country is why our earnings are the way that they are. Mm-hmm. And the way that we're utilized is different, right? The fact is that form and care and how dynamic people are in our industry makes them of great value. You're a great example of this. You transitioned into another career and succeeded greatly in that because of a huge amount of skill set that you learned in culinary and hospitality. But think about all the people that were great in culinary, in hospitality, that had to go somewhere else to continue their career. How do we figure out how to make sure that we are creating long-term monetized growth for people that are superstars in what they do, for not just 1 or 5% of it, but 10 or 15? Because if we can do that as an industry and allow you to age within that, we will keep incredible talent and we will disrupt way more. And that's the thing that we have to talk about. Because as an industry, we're way more powerful together than we are if we're separating this restaurant from this restaurant down the street, right? We're really in competition with the Brinkers, the Chili's of the world, who have figured out that a lot more than the day-to-day mom and pop or the Michelin star restaurant.
Yeah, well, you also bring up an interesting point. I look at people that, if you said, for example, hey, we're going to get together as a community and we all agree to raise the rate and do all this, there's going to be someone that's a capitalist going to say, I'll do it cheaper though.
Yeah, of course.
There's always someone that's going to say, I'll do it less expensive, or I'll do it better, or I'll find a quicker way to do it just to eat up the rest of the competition. I mean, we saw that during COVID. You remember when, well, obviously we all remember, but everything closed. Everything opened at the exact same time. And I know I was dealing with it where it's like, hey, I'm going to go work here. They're paying me $13 an hour. Oh, I'm going to go here. They're paying me 14. Oh, please come back. And we're playing arbitrage between other restaurants because we've never had a situation where all the restaurants close and open at the same time.
Yeah, well, and I mean, the American capitalism is great and alive in that aspect of you're always looking for a competitive advantage. What I will say is I think why the food industry has struggled is because I would call that a race to the bottom mentality, right? And what happened is if the only comparable of your product is price, then you're a commodity, right? So in this scenario of this burger is $4.99, this burger is $5.99, which burger are you going to buy? Everyone's going to buy the $4.99 burger if all I'm talking about is the price. Mm-hmm. And so that's where storytelling and marketing and ethics and all those things really show up, right? And in the example of wages is what you said, if all I'm talking about is wages and that's all I care about, then yeah, I'm going to go to the place that has the highest wage. But the reality of that is that is the bare minimum of what it means to be an employer, of what it means to have a career, of what it means to be proud of what you do. And that to me is the number one, like, you know, this may be privileged, but in the aspect of I would way rather be proud of what I do every single day and make $1 or $2 less an hour than go into the same exact space and know that I'm making $1 or $2 more, but cook food that I don't care about and be a part of a community or something like that that I don't think is doing anything.
When people leave jobs, so, you know, they always say they don't leave jobs, they leave bosses or whatever, right? But you look at it, and when someone comes to you and they say they're leaving because I'm going here for 50 cents, that's nothing. Like
Right.
in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. It's, you know, $25 a month or something like that. I wouldn't leave a job that I'm happy at for $25 a month. You know, that's gas station snacks.
Right.
So really then the focus becomes on looking at the, I would say maybe total compensation package, but it's also the other things like, are you offering wellness benefits or PTO, all these other things that factor into it.
Well, and so my argument would be even more important than all of that.
Yeah.
It's where do I see this taking me?
Yeah.
Right. So if I know that I'm probably not going to get that chef job, then my stability changes. But if I know that in this company, they have 40 other career paths that I can pick and choose from that take me for the course of 30 years to an earning potential of $250,000 a year when I'm 50, that 25 cents means nothing.
Right.
It's the same thing with school, right? Like everyone gets on culinary school. Culinary school is amazing if it turns into that you end up being a chef and you have a long-term society and all those sort of things with that. But if it doesn't, then it doesn't work as well. And so that's where, you know, do you go and get paid to learn and work somewhere or not?
What does that look like in your organization right now currently? So for people that are listening and maybe have, because you have quite the large empire now.
Yeah, we have 775 employees today.
Wow. I remember, like, I'm thinking back to when we met, like, I think Emmer had just opened.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I mean, I tell that story not often because I don't do podcast that often, but where, when we opened, we were not immediately successful. And it's a really hard kind of vulnerable moment where you're putting yourself out there, which is what a restaurant is, at least when you're taking a stance. But if I'm making a restaurant that's just tried and true and simple, and I'm not trying to take a stance in that, then maybe I'm not putting myself out there. But Emmer Rye, we were trying to have a voice that meant something, that was worth saying. And because of that, we really did a lot of things differently. And we attracted people to that, many of whom are still with us today, to leave sous chef jobs to become line cooks for what we were doing. Mm-hmm. And when we opened, we were doing 30 covers. And we still hadn't figured out exactly who our customer was, which is kind of a unique thing to think about, right? Because you'd think that great food resonates with everybody. Mm-hmm. And it just doesn't, right? You're fantastic if it resonates with 70% of people. Now, the thing is, 25 of that remaining 30% are going to naturally filter themselves out because they're not going to go to a restaurant that doesn't sound appealing to them. Mm-hmm. So if your capture rate is only 70% when people eat there, you've got a big problem. But we were really unsuccessful. And so we were, I had run 5 restaurants. I was the director of ops in Arizona before I came to Austin, and I kind of sold out of that and finished that because I wanted to do something like Emmer Rye that was unique, that I knew was going to take every ounce of our creative and thought process to that. And we lived upstairs, and we had a nest egg that we put in. We did it all the right way, where we raised money before, we secured the space, we built out the space, we hammered the GC on, value engineering all the way through to get it to exactly where we want. Mm. We kept Tavel and myself and Allison off payroll. We Uber drove all the way up until 2 weeks before. I worked as a line cook at Olame to make sure that, I'd wake up, I'd go to the site, I'd ride my bike to Olame, I'd ride my bike back to get a workout in. I'd Uber drive till 4 a.m. on weekends, go back to sleep, and then hit it again. And for all to have $100,000 in the bank when we open, because the number one reason why restaurants fail is they do not have enough financial cushion for when the wrong thing happens, because inevitably it will at some point. Mm-hmm. And then you compromise and you compromise and compromise.
What was the moment? Because I'm sure you had that moment when, like you were saying, it's slow. What's going to go on here?
Yeah.
What was that moment when you said, "Okay, we're going to make it"?
Well, so we had to have the other moment first, right? Mm-hmm. And so we were losing $40,000 a month, right? Because that's what it costs to have a brigade, and your opening and your food costs is off, and like all these things. And we just weren't busy. Mm-hmm. And I can remember vividly getting home after service one day and not being able to sleep, and waking up, really standing or sitting on the edge of the bed. And Allie, my wife, woke up and she said, "Are you okay?" And I, just turned and looked at her. I said, "No." Like, did I just ruin our lives? Is it good? She said, I think it's good. And you have to understand, so she worked at the Nordic Food Lab. She's a master's in food anthropology. I respect her palate as much as really anyone in the world. So that means a lot to me, not just to my wife. And she tells it to me straight. And so I said, "Okay, well, are we going to double down on it then? Because we're out of money." And she was like, "Yeah, which is what you need." So 3 a.m, we made a game plan to first sell my car, because we lived above the restaurant. So that was to get us, at the time, I thought it was going to be worth $30,000, which would get us through at least another 2 weeks to make payroll. And then we would look at her 401k, which would get us, another 17,000 or so. And then we were going to get into, past this January time, which is really hard in Austin. We're going to get a little bit into season, and that would float us enough to see what was happening. And so the next day I woke up, washed the car bright and early at, 6 a.m., took photos of it, and I listed it before I went into work.
What kind of car was it? Just
Well, so I left a really great job, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I had a brand new Audi S4 that was now like 2 years old,
Yeah.
right? Because I left a pretty cush gig where I was running 5 restaurants and I was a partner and they were all crushing.
You probably love that car.
Oh, it's an amazing car. It's a manual. I only drive manual.
Yeah.
And we downsized. So my wife had like a old car 'cause she didn't care about the stuff, and so that was what we ended up using. And I can remember Keith Rapecki, who's our corporate chef over Austin now, and is really into cars. We were at family meal when I ultimately sold the car, and I just walked outside. The guy looked at it, and I gave him the keys. He gave me the check. Walked back inside, didn't say anything. Went into service. Because you don't really want to be like, hey, I'm selling my car. And everyone's like, well, why? And you're like, well, I got to make payroll.
Right.
Like, like you're a leader. You're a general. Like, you can't.
Don't let them see you sweat.
No. There's a form of that, but you don't want. If I'm following somebody who I know is failing, that doesn't feel like good career advice either.
Right.
And so there's this balance between this thing, right? There's this fake it till you make it. But then there's also this vulnerability in making sure that you're being real about these things, right? Everyone's going through this struggle. And so we sold the car. I paid off a lot of my credit card debt, which was all restaurant stuff.
Yeah.
And right around that time was when Kate Crater came in with Matthew Odom. And she had the Cacio. Like 3 weeks later, we found out that we won Food and Wine Best New Chef, which we couldn't tell anybody, right? And this, I think, at the time, we were the earliest restaurants have opened to win the award too, because we were open for like 2 months, and then we had to wait another 3 months or so.
So, are you thinking like, do we have enough money to?
Oh,
yeah. You're going to get the upside.
Well, I mean, you're in a cloud to that, yeah.
Yeah.
But what happened is, and this is the great thing about distance to this, is now I can look back and I can see that with some seasonal changes, we went up 10% a week, right? For the course of 3/4 of a year. So if you think about that, for like 37 weeks, we went up about 10% with seasonal variation of what that looks like, right? So you're 370% more over the course of 37 weeks than where you were. That's game changing, but 10% a week doesn't feel like it.
Right.
And so if you're looking for double, that's unachievable, right? That happens only in freak things. Somebody comes in that is a huge sphere of influence and attracts people to what you're doing. But most growth happens bit by bit by bit. And that's not the sexy part of it. And so sometimes you just got to look for those inches that you're getting. And once we really realized that trend was happening, it made it a lot easier. And it was such a tale of two worlds between the restaurant world of one where I felt like such a failure, right? Imagine this, right? I'm at the edge of my bed wondering what I can do with the rest of our career and how to get ourselves out of this debt that we took into. And a month and a half later, I'm winning one of the most prestigious awards in the culinary industry, flying to New York, which I had to buy a suit. And, now people asking me about what we're doing and how it's so progressive. And nothing really changed other than the aspect of the right people came in and we just steadfast to doing the thing that we really believed in.
I want to ask you this question because I think it's an important part to the conversation. But how do the right people find you? Because that's not so easy. Because there's a lot of great chefs that we never hear of them.
Yeah.
So how do the right people find you? Like if you had to give some advice to a chef that's out there that might be in a similar situation that just needs the right people to find them, what can they do?
Well, this is I would say that I'm bad at this internally. Luckily, I have really good partners that are good at this. Like Tavel's very good at this. And, we also worked with Giant Noise, who's a PR agency who's really good at this. But you have to figure out the thing that you're going to be loud about and make sure that that's something that you really care about. And then be very loud about that on multiple platforms in what you do. right? That can be just in your space, but whatever it is, if you really want to be somebody worth being listened to, you need to have an opinion worth listening to. If you're just doing the same thing, or even if you think it is something that is unique and different and nobody else does, the reality of it is it's probably not.
Yeah. That's the hard, uncomfortable truth.
Well, and like how many people think that they're great?
Yeah.
And that like behind closed doors, everyone's like, yeah, they're not that great.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's I hate to say that's like 99% of everyone thinks they're great. When you ask them, just ask them.
Yeah.
What's the thing where they say get all your friends in a room and ask them who they all think is the smartest, and all of them are going to say themselves?
Well, I think the unique thing about it is most people that I think are really great would say that they're not.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like people are always like, oh man, you've accomplished so much. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think so. Like I feel like I'm halfway, or we really need to figure out how to do these things because, you just get to the next space and you look at that there's just so much more to accomplish for our industry, right? For cooks. The disparity is still so great on, you either have to choose to kind of sell out and make money or to be creative and do what you really like. Like, why?
Yeah. So going back, at what point do you now say we've made it and now it's time to scale?
At Emmer Rye?
Yeah, because you remember what was next, Hestia? No, it was
technically it's Henbit, but
right.
we committed to doing Hestia first.
Yeah.
So, we were working with a really talented chef, Paige Presley. And I think it's exactly this, right? Truthfully, like when I opened Emmer Rye, I expected that was a restaurant that they were going to bury me. I was going to wake up every day, come to work, cook, work there. That's what I wanted. And genuinely, it is still my happy place. The responsibility of doing more is something that we all stepped up into because we're blessed enough to work with incredibly talented people. And what I recognized is we could create a platform that we could all do together rather than them having to continue to brave their own way to do those things. And there's a huge amount of leverage that comes from success in the hospitality industry in a group. And so our negotiated rate was different at Hestia or Henbit than the leverage that I did not have at Emmer Rye. And so the people that worked with me were able to benefit from that. And we were able to get to the next level because of those things, because of the scale. And so really it was based upon the talent that was within the organization that allowed us to expand.
You guys have some heavy hitters, by the way, in the group. Like, I don't know. I mean, really, I talk to a lot of chefs, and we often say, your group has the heaviest of the heavy hitters in Texas, probably. You're stacked with talent, and I'm assuming that that comes with its challenges too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. How do you sometimes navigate having so many, gangsters in the kitchen?
Well, I think the first goal is hiring a lot of people that have a like-minded purpose to that, right? And so the goal of the majority of people that either grew up within our organization or joined it from the outside is that they want to be part of something that's bigger than just them. And if you're in it to have your name on the headline of that thing, you're probably not going to be happy in our organization. But if you're in it to truly change the relationship of food and service from transactional to something that has deeper meaning to you with a group of people, there are very few spaces in the US that you can do that. And that's how we've been able to keep a lot of people and grow. Because, Tavel and my name are in the papers a lot. But the reality of that is that we are purely small parts of what the organization does. And every single one of those heavy hitters and gangsters recognizes really quickly how much influence they have on what we do. It is not just the 4 or 5 partners directing this thing at all. We have to make a decision together to have that impact, and they are huge parts of what we do and our growth.
Great restaurants don't always bring customers in. Great stories do. Because in food, beverage, and hospitality, what you sell is only part of the story. It's the why behind it, the authority you create, and the experience that you build. Market Scale turns expertise into content that connects. Podcasts, video series, and industry education. Not ads, assets. Market Scale has brought Run the Pass and How to Manage Like an Executive Chef to life. Real-world examples of how great content leads the conversation. Because attention is earned, and the industry doesn't need more noise, it needs more leaders. So what does your day-to-day look like now? Because you've started as, chef with one restaurant to now, I don't know, CEO. Is that appropriate title?
Yeah. I've accepted. I've steered away from that title for a very long time, and now I have a suit coat and a suit.
Do you wear a suit every day?
No,
I like the leather jacket. By
Thank
the way,
you.
It looks sharp.
Yeah, it's like a shacket.
Yeah,
and it's quite light still, which works. No, I don't. Although I can wear loafers now or suede shoes, which is like a whole thing.
Yeah.
Because in a kitchen you get grease on everything.
Right.
Your pants, as clean as you are, which I hate when I get grease on anything. But yeah, it's transitioned a lot. And I struggle with that too. Right. The reality of it is I am happiest still making pasta, cooking food, serving it to somebody. That is the thing that I quench after. What I also love is creating spaces where people like Alfred, Keith, Danny, Jorge, these are just amazing talents in our kitchens that have been there, get to have an impact on Texas, their viewpoint and scale, and that's all I work on now, is how I can help develop them and make sure that their careers, their passions are met, and how I can, we have development plans for people, so I get to sit side by side and I say, in 5 or 10 years, here are the paths that you can go on. What tools do you need to be successful for those things? You need to travel more to go to, Keith Repecker is a good example. You want to go to Tokyo to cook. Great. You want a month? Fantastic. We have a program that we work with every single salaried manager where they get $3,000 a year they have to apply for it, but it's already penciled for them. And they're paid on top of that while they're gone. So that's just to cover expenses that they incur on this, to learn. And what they have to do is they have to come back and share that with the organization and stay for 6 months. And then they re-up every single year to be able to do that.
Why do you do that, though?
Well, so there's 2 reasons that we do. There's a lot of reasons that we do it. But the main reason was I believe that we all want to live a great story. Mm-hmm. And our industry is so captivating that it keeps everyone locked into day-to-day service. And often we don't save the right way to be able to go out and explore in those things. So by creating a scenario where they get money set aside to incentivize them to travel, we're broadening these lives that you get to live in our industry, which is something that I think it deserves to have. And the second part of that is, those were the moments for me that I was the happiest, where I had perspective of what was out there and I got to come back in a space where I missed it. Mm-hmm. And now we're creating an organization that is not driven by perspectives of a shared few at the top, but it's driven by perspectives of many who have gone out and lived these diverse lives and have amazing ideas that hopefully we get to work with and continue. And so you create a completely different culture than what most places are.
I want to go back to kind of, I hate to say the CEO, but for the sake of conversation, what does the day-to-day look like for you now? And I mean, what do you have, 9, 10 restaurants?
We have well, so I call it 11, and that is
And spread across, so for people that don't know,
right.
San Antonio and Austin.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And we just announced Houston.
Oh, congratulations.
Thanks. It just means more travel. You just get to scale and you have to do different things. But I have an EA now, which is a lifesaver.
Yeah.
And so what it allowed me to do is she schedules essentially my hours. And so what I get to do is I reflect with her on what productivity I want to have, right? So right now, Pullman consumes most of my life. And it has for the last 2 years because it's just such a large endeavor. And we also have such grand aspirations for the impact that it will have. And so what I'll do is I have meetings with our finance, our marketing, our operations, our HR, and in each of those, I'll reflect back in a group dynamic about how we're doing. I'll read their emails and their initiatives into those things, and I'll set goals with them, and then we'll track that forward. And then I will have separate one-on-one meetings with each of my direct reports, which are still mostly culinary facing, because that's kind of my passion to that. And then there's a mixture of community outreach to those things too. And candidly, I'm still learning to be a great CEO because I've been in that position now formally for 2 years. I was in the hospitality industry for 20, right?
Right.
That's what I know. And that's what got me a form of success. And it's why I will be a successful CEO is because of that too. But I read a lot of books.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of other people there. I'm in a whole new education on how I can be impactful in the career that I grew up in for others.
One of the things that you do very well is, and I'm learning this now with what I do as Chef's PSA, because I know for myself, when I was a chef, I was a chef.
Right.
And my circle was chefs. And all I talked to was chefs. And all I talked about was food. And then now that I'm Chef's PSA, I still talk to a lot of chefs, but now I have to talk to financial people and marketers. And I deal with a lot of PR companies and lawyers and things like that. People that they weren't in my circle of influence before. But I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, I always thought you did a pretty good job at that because I remember, you'd call me up and say, hey, I'm sending this one to your restaurant. I'm sending that one. It was always this high profile person that you were sending over. So I always thought that you did a really great job at preparing yourself for the CEO. Maybe you didn't know you were, but I felt like you were doing a good job at it. I saw it back then.
Yeah, that's probably my dad connected me with a lot of great people early on. And I think the other thing is, if you surround yourself with only like-minded people, then you don't get a diversity of opinion.
Yeah.
And to me, it's incredibly engaging to talk to other very passionate people, and learn their perspective about things that are not in the same day-to-day as you.
You also talked about, you read a lot of books.
Yeah.
You used to play, or do you still play audiobooks in the restaurant?
Yeah. So no, because I got overruled in that, and that was what I was doing there.
Yeah.
We do it in the bathrooms, yes. But
Yeah.
when I drive back and forth between San Antonio and Austin, or when I work out, it's all audiobooks
Yeah.
or podcasts.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because I remember one of the times I was eating at Emmer and I went to go to the restaurant. I was listening to Dan Barber's book.
Yeah.
I was listening to it, not at your restaurant. I was listening to it on my own. And then when I went to the restaurant, I was like, wait a minute, I'm listening to that book right now too.
I mean, the whole goal was to put people into our mindset, right?
Yeah.
So you're coming into this space where we really want you to start to question where food comes from and why most restaurants are the way that they are and why the perspective is a little bit different of what we do at Emmer Rye.
On the subject of books, just because I read a ton of books as well, is there anything, well, I guess 2 questions. The type of books that you read or listen to, is it typically industry related or is it outside of the industry? Number 1. Second one is, what's the best thing you've listened to lately?
Oh man, this is tough. So I typically don't read industry specific books. It depends on if I'm deep diving about things. Like I'm obsessed with bread. So I really love reading bread books and just recipe books about that because I find the nuance of how people talk about it sometimes where the truth of those things are. I'm reading Bill Belichick's book right now.
Are you?
I'm a bit of a Patriots homer.
Yeah.
Because I'm from Boston and whatnot. But it's really, to me, again, if you want to attract great people, you have to treat them like great people.
Yeah.
And that right there is the thing that I think Belichick did incredibly well. And why I'm reading that book. The podcast that I really like, that I listen to pretty often is called Super Psych. And he does a really good job of talking to philosophers or, just different industry professionals about mindset and why we are the way that we are. So I really love that. Freakonomics is another amazing podcast that I love to listen to. And specifically right now, I'm listening to one about the most powerful people that you've never heard of, which are the commodity traders. And it's really interesting because when you get into these broad scale economics,
Commodities like gold, oil, wheat,
exactly.
whatever.
Right. Yeah. And so they're often the first people that go into destabilized environments, right?
Yeah.
So when the USSR collapsed, the commodity traders were there within days to resecure and trade ahead. And they're actually way less price sensitive to if they're buying high or low because they're holding something and the market's going to affect that. But the pipeline of it is what they're protective about.
That's interesting. I like very similar books. I love reading a lot about finance, but lately I've been on a world conqueror kick.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I've been listening to like, Alexander the Great or Genghis Khan or anything like that. And I love that because I like to see what they all have in common. And you start to see those same threads in a lot of chefs.
Sure.
A lot of what I've noticed, what makes people great sometimes I'm able to pick them out young in their career, like, oh, they're going to be good. And I notice like, okay, some of those same traits are the ones that you see in those great world.
What is that to you?
It's a belief in themselves. And it usually comes from a parent is what I've noticed. So in the case of Alexander's, his mom would tell him he was the son of Zeus. And she'd say, King Philip's not your real dad, Zeus is. So he would go, he always had this, am I able to conquer the world because I'm the son of Zeus and it's my destiny, right? And you see like UFC fighter John Jones, right? He believes he has this destiny to be the greatest. You look at like Mike Tyson, he had the destiny to be the greatest. And you see that in a lot of people that they feel because they've been told from an early age, you're destined for greatness. Now, whether it's real or not, I don't know. But that
They
belief,
manifested it.
yeah, they manifested it because someone believed in them. And it's funny because I've talked to chefs early on in my career. I remember I was in culinary school breaking down chickens. I was quiet. I was like 17 years old. And the chef instructor noticed that I was just this quiet kid. Didn't really talk to anyone in class. And he comes up to me one day and he says, I could tell you're going to be a great chef one day. I remember it to this day. Like of all the things he said to me, I don't remember. I remember that conversation because it stuck with me forever. Whether he was saying it because he meant it, I have no idea.
Yeah.
But what's interesting about that is I've gone back and knowing that I've said that to other people throughout my career, you're going to be a great chef one day. And all of them that I've said that to have become great chefs. And they've all come back to me and said, do you remember that one time you said I was going to be a great chef? And it cost me nothing to say that to them. It cost me nothing. And it impacted them and their career. So a lot of these people that go on and achieve greatness, a lot of it has to do with someone believed in them and that fueled their belief in themselves.
Yeah. Well, I think as humans, this gets us all the way back, but I think as a species, we are, when we fear for our survival, right? Whether that be in a job, in your relationship, with your parents, or just truly walking on the street and how your mindset is, you're not able to think at a higher level. But when you no longer are worried about the loss that comes because you're looking forward, your ability to think, to reach for things, to do the impossible, you can see it in so many circumstances to that. And so you really have to get out of this scarcity mindset that happens because, we are not the apex predator on Earth. The way that we think has allowed us to control all of this. That's the beautiful part of the species of man, right? Put us up against a lion or a tiger or a gorilla, we're going to lose.
Right.
But because of the way that we think, because of the way that we control food, because of our relationship with food, we have been able to steer this journey in so many ways that were completely unfathomable to man even 2,000 years ago, even 200 years ago.
So 100 men versus one gorilla.
So we're talking about gorillas, right? For it's 95 or 105 versus one man, and we can debate all those sort of things. But the simple fact is, if we now have guns, we now have castles that we can go up into, all those sort of things. We have steered the odds because of the way that we think about things.
Yeah.
And that right there is what the true trait is, right? As strong as we can be, the greatest strength is our belief in ourselves and really our ability to use our mind and question what reality is currently versus what it's going to be.
It's so funny you say that, because that's what makes the exceptional chef, really. I mean, if we narrow it down to our business, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being a chef, you notice that the ones that are exceptional because they thought differently. They believed in themselves, and they found solutions where other people just saw a wall. And I think about that a lot. Like I look at the most successful chefs and I study them, and I notice that at the very, at the tip of the spear, they all operate as the exception to the rule. Renee's food, and then everyone else, right? Thomas's food and everyone else, or the business model that they operate, and they find solutions. And I think too many people that I find, when they get stuck in a rut, it's because they don't think that there's any other option. Right. And there's always another option. Of course. There's always another option. I talked to this guy, it was years ago, and I remember him telling me how impressed he was with, and I'm not trying to knock any of the people in this conversation that I had. He was telling me how impressed he was with David Chang because David Chang did something. Mm-hmm. I don't remember what he did. And I just remember thinking, like, that's not impressive. Not because it wasn't impressive what he did, but it's like, he thought he couldn't do that. And I remember thinking, like, why do you think you can't do that? Like, it's just a technique. Mm-hmm. You could learn it. It's not that difficult. I could learn it today, and he could show me how to do it. I'll learn it in 30 minutes. And I realize that a lot of people sometimes view other people, chefs, whatever, and they just say, I can never do that. And I'm the, like, people talk about imposter syndrome. Sometimes I think I have the opposite, where I see anything like, yeah, I could do that too. Outside of dunking a basketball or, being able to, things that I physically can't do, I never really look at anything and say that's beyond my capability if it isn't. If they have 2 hands, 2 legs, and a brain, I figure I got the same.
Yeah. It's interesting. I mean, I think that there are natural limitations and strengths and weaknesses that people have. And if you're going to stack up the greats, you can see that there are different things that each of them have that are great, right? And if they tried to do the exact same thing as the other, there would be a clear difference, right? And you can look at professional athletes in the same way, right? Some of them are better shooters, some of them can jump higher, some of them are faster. And no matter how hard the others train at those things, they're not going to be as good at that because they're just not set up for those things.
Right.
It's the same with us. Mm-hmm. We just got to figure out what are the things that we're truly great at. And that's the timer that is happening here, right? Mm-hmm. I'm probably not as great at tornading something as a lot of other people. Well, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things? And if my menu doesn't have any of those on it, well, then probably not that much.
Right.
And so, the question that I get into with this thing is, you're right, like, there is a blind confidence that you sort of need to have, but you also have to have the mirror a little bit, because otherwise you just end up wasting your time to get great at this thing that you're never going to be that great at.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you. I think the point that I was trying to say is, I think people limit their potential because they see it as, I will never be able to do that. Right. And I'm not saying I go around chasing everything and saying I could do that, and I try and do it
Right.
because I'm not interested in it. But I don't ever look at something and say they are exceptional, and there are some exceptional cases. Like, I'm not saying I'm gonna get in the ring and knock out, Mike Tyson. I'm not saying that. But what I am saying is that I think with enough time and dedication, and if you really want to do something, you could become very good at anything. Maybe not world class, but you could become very good at anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of, if for chefs that are listening, I think a lot of times they limit their true potential because they think, I'll never be a sous chef, or I'll never be a chef. I'm never going to be good enough to be a chef de cuisine. I'm always going to be this, or I'm always going to be that, or I'll never own my own restaurant, whatever the case.
Yeah, with
those
that
limiting
mentality, though.
with those
Never.
limiting beliefs. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. With that mentality, you'll never get there. But the ones that do believe in themselves, and this kind of goes back to the earlier conversation, the ones that do believe in themselves and think that they can, even if they can't, at least they're shooting for the basket.
Mm-hmm.
They have a greater likelihood of the ball going in the net.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Yeah. Back to Pullman Market, because it's massive.
Yeah.
And by the way, I go there often. So I go to San Antonio often
Yep.
to teach a leadership seminars and things like that. And I always eat at one of your restaurants, always, whether it's Isadore or really any of them. But I always go through Pullman Market. I'm like, what does Kevin have now? Like, what's on the shelves?
Yeah, we're always doing new stuff. Yeah.
So can you tell people, because I know you do a pretty cool thing with the meat program and sustainability and all that.
So the whole origin of Pullman came from COVID, right? And so, we source about 50% of our food from grocery, and we consume 50% of our meals in restaurants, which is as high as it has ever been, right? It was always 75% grocery, and then it has slowly continued to increase really since World War II. And obviously COVID was the massive disruption of that. And what that showed to me in a restaurant person that all of a sudden had consumed 90% of my meals in restaurants and had to go to someplace else because, while I was still working, it was just a huge disruption. The quality of the meat and the seafood that we have access to in restaurants versus what doesn't matter how much you're willing to pay that you can get in a grocery store, they're not the same thing.
Right.
Like every single chef knows that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why? And the story of it is a logistics thing, right? Retail is set up to let things last longer, and to have kind of this race to the bottom of that of how can I get the most amount of food out to people as fast as possible? And if you're really starting to look at it of how can I get people the best quality product, you have to look at it differently. And so for us, ethically, we started from, we only want to source from within Texas. We want to do whole animal because what that says to a rancher is you focus on just raising the best animal. We'll focus on everything else. We wanted only single kill floors. And we wanted a model where we knew exactly what that animal had grazed on, where it grazed, its breed, exactly how long it's been alive. And so at Pullman, we go through about 4 steers a week right now. A mixture, we have 2 Angus producers, really 1 Lababi is our main Angus producer. And then we have 3 Wagyu producers, all of which are really incredible. And in that, everything that you get in all the restaurants comes from that whole animal. And so you get, and I truly believe, the best steaks that you can buy that have never been frozen, which most of these small ranches have to freeze because they're going to lose a lot of things otherwise. And you get tortillas from the beef tallow. And we're making chapsticks now from local beeswax and upcycle beef tallow. And we've just transitioned to where the employee-facing areas are now upcycle beef tallow in a liquid form made by one of our farmers from the tallow, right? So now all of a sudden you have this kind of playground of byproduct in the way that it was meant to be that we no longer have to cook as chefs. And to me, that's where the ideas come from. And now as a consumer, if you live in San Antonio, you have access to all the same things. And what we do is we do side-by-sides all the time, right? Just blind for our team, right? So where we cook one of our steaks, and we cook a steak from, all the other places so we can buy them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't compare, right? That's the coolest thing about it is just when do you ever take a blind study where 20 people try something and 20 people or 19 people pick the same thing?
Never, by the way.
Yeah.
Never.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
And it really is that significant. And as a chef, you get it, right? Like you've seen that. We try side-by-side products in that.
Mm-hmm.
We just have accepted that that's what we're going to get. You ready for a really scary statistic?
Yeah, go for it.
Up to 100 animals can be in a single pound of ground beef.
What?
Yeah. Think about it.
Yeah, I guess so, huh?
I mean, they're grinding them in these large factories, mixing it all up, putting it into these bags and shipping that out. Well, that is not a thing that you ever have to worry about with the way that, one, it should be, but two, that we're doing it. You get one animal, it's broken down. This is this animal's ground beef. You want to move on to the next one? Here you go.
Wow. 100 animals.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that a scary statistic?
Yeah, it is. It's terrifying, actually.
But if you think about the transparency, this is why I'm so bought into what we're doing at Pullman and why people need this access is because our system is based purely on convenience, and when it grew in a way where our ethical awareness of what was happening was just different.
Mm-hmm.
And today we know more. And we get to make the choice about that, right? It's the same thing with organic. Some days, maybe you're going to choose to buy organic, maybe you're not. But at least you know that there's a difference, and here's what I'm doing. That the industry of beef, of seafood, of pork, of chicken, we're just starting to really pull back what has been happening in those industries.
Mm.
And now people are getting to make the choice. Chickens are really hard, right? So we work with Greener Pastures. They do an incredible job. Please look up what they're doing. It's a more expensive bird. It's a significantly more expensive bird. It's darker red. It has higher myoglobin to it. The reason why is because they actually are outside and move, and they need that in their system. The reason why their birds are $4 or $5 a pound wholesale, which is more than double what you can buy a larger producer's birds for, which, by the way, means that I can't sell a rotisserie chicken for $9.99 or $7.99 because the bird itself costs me $15 to $20.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get back to the aspect of what are they cutting out of the process to get the birds that cheap, particularly for chickens, because the difference is not as significant for beef and pigs on a price point wise, that it is alarming.
Yeah. Yeah. Just, for people that don't know, go order a case of like wogs and see what they look like. Like they have cysts, they have, big boils on them.
Yeah.
They're not healthy birds.
No. They're
broken. Their bones are broken by the time they're around. It's just not good. And I'm assuming that's what that's what everyone's eating.
That's exactly it though.
Yeah.
Right? You really want to talk about the quantity of wogs that are sold versus whole birds.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to wager it's 85% volume wogs to whole birds.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the scary part about that.
Yeah, it is. And I think what you're doing is great because you're providing the option for people to eat better. And whether it's in your restaurants or cooking for themselves, where a lot of times it's just not an option. This is what we have, in this neighborhood, this is what you got. So the fact that you're doing that is tremendous. So
Thanks.
yeah, congratulations to you. I want to ask you, and this is a loaded question, but what's the hardest part about doing what you do?
I think for me, it's there's every day I wake up and I know that there's more to do.
Mm.
And it takes a relentless amount of energy to do it every single day. And I really want to just make sure that I'm providing and doing the best that I can for all the people that work with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that every single day, coming with that amount of energy every single day, is tiring. And I would say, you know, I've worked 80 to 100 hours a week for 20 years. And I just recently talked to our capital partner, and I said, hey, I have to work 60 hours a week. I can't work 80 hours a week. And that was, you know, for my family, but it's also for my energy. It's for my perspective of those sort of things, because you get into a space where your to-do list will never be done. And, you know, I've been a chef. As a chef, I never made a dish that I was 100% happy with. Never. Not once. And then take that to being somebody who is ultimately responsible for the health and wellness of 775 people with aspirations to have even more. And that just is the people that work with us, not even the outside people that source with us or the farms that are adjacent to that. And I think the pressure that shows up on that is something that I have yet to figure out how to truly have a healthy relationship with.
So one of the big topics right now, especially in the culinary world, is burnout balance, work-life balance. How do you balance fatherhood and also, you know, being Kevin Fink?
Yeah. So I for sure would, I don't think anybody would describe me as balanced. and I, for, you know, during COVID times, I was really big into this like work-life balancing. Then I was like, okay, this is just not me, right? I just, now what I will say is, having a son changed my life in a lot of ways, because it took this space where I was with my wife and we were talking about what our goals and aspirations were with another adult. Mm-hmm. And then it changed into this where now, I don't know what percentage, but my life is now around how I can also support him. Mm-hmm. And the other thing that changed is you realize really quickly that getting out at 1 a.m. is going to be a big problem when school starts at 7:30.
Yeah.
And so you're like, well, do I sleep less? Do I switch my schedule? Like, being away from this, they don't really understand that. And you again look at how stacked against the hospitality and culinary industry our world is. Mm-hmm. Doctors are all during the day. Shops are all open during the day. Schools that go through that sort of thing. There is nothing set up for night jobs. Mm-hmm. That is when we live. Dinner is the bread and butter of this thing. So, you know, for me, I will tell you that it put into perspective a lot of things, right? Where my self-importance went way down because I just realized, like, I'm a dad. Like, first of all, fatherhood kicks your ass. You can tell anybody. Like, I at least say to people, we're privileged now where we've had a lot of people have children in our organization, which I'm actually really grateful that you can continue your career, right, as a dad in what we do. That's really important, because otherwise, again, this filter out thing. But I always look at somebody, I'm like, I'll talk to me in like 2 or 3 months. I'm not going to try and tell you how your life's going to change, because you're not going to see it. Then all of a sudden it happens and you're like, oh my God, everybody else has been dealing with this and not complaining about like how hard it is the whole time. Like, you think like scrubbing the floors when you're a cook is hard? No way, man. Like, that, you're going to look back at that and you're going to say, that was so easy. Like, what did I have to complain about?
Yeah. 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 So what do you do to unwind? I mean, I know you're a cigar guy like me. But
yeah.
What else do you do to unwind?
Yeah.
Like, to take care of you?
No, I don't know. I'm still figuring that out. I work out, which I don't do as often as I should. Cigars is great for me. Mezcal is good for me, although also not great in the same way. Yeah. Probably the same with cigars. I just started infrared saunas. Those have been really nice.
Yeah. So you're sitting in a one that covers you entirely?
Yeah, I'm not doing like the face thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I'm saying, and I'll read, or I'll listen to a podcast, and I'll just kind of be present to that.
Yeah.
which has been really great. Chess is great for me.
Shit, we should play.
I look forward to that.
Yeah.
Danny Parada is very good at chess. One of our corporate chefs is like ranked. I don't know. It's like a 1,200 ranking on it.
Oh shit, yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
I always tell people, like, if you're not good at chess, I'm gonna seem like a master, but if you're good, I'm gonna seem like an amateur.
Right. Yeah. So I try and take his legs out before I play, or he just had a baby, so now I can play him while he's sleep deprived.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the reality of it is family time, travel, a great meal will kind of just take my breath away still.
Yeah. What was the last great meal you had?
I had a lot of great meals in this. I just went to Copenhagen and London. And first of all, somebody said this a long time ago, and I fundamentally agree with it, which is make your money in America and retire and spend your money in Europe. Because, God, the lifestyle is just so awesome.
Yeah.
We ate at Alchemist, which was a great meal. I had an incredible meal at Ambassador Clubhouse in London. It was just so good. I had a really great steak at Abai in London as well. We ate at the Tamal Prince there, which was awesome. Man, all great meals.
When you cook for yourself and maybe your loved ones, what does that look like as opposed to restaurant food? Or are you cooking the same thing that you would do in the restaurant?
No. I'm cooking I mean, I think I will at least speak for me in this, but when you're a restaurant, you have this staple of ingredients that have kind of like been going in this larder, and you're building all this complexity on items that have traditionally taken, a week or 3 months or a bare minimum 2 or 3 days to kind of prep through these things. And they just add a complexity to a lot of that, but you also need the volume in those things to be happening to utilize them.
Right.
So at home, I cook much simpler, and what is probably not surprising to you is I love grilling.
Yeah.
Just like cooking over, live fire. So I have a green egg, but then I also have this massive cowboy cauldron, and I have them deliver like Chief Firewood delivers like a big pallet of wood to my house.
Yeah.
And so I'll just light fires all the time, and I'll cook like directly on the coals. With all sorts of different stuff. And that is my favorite thing to do. One
of the really interesting things about your group is you have a lot of partners. So how do you manage that many partners? How do you make it so it's a win for everybody and so that they want to be involved? And how do you manage all the personalities?
Yeah. Well, so great question, and one that we get asked all the time. And so we've been together as partners for about 7 years now. And really, I've worked with Tavel for almost 15 years.
Because you guys worked in Boston, in New York?
No, in Tucson, Arizona.
Oh, why does
he worked in New York?
He worked in New York,
and then he moved to Tucson, which is actually he got set up to work with us through a former chef that I had worked with in the organization. We just got really close.
Yeah.
And I think wherever we travel, people recognize really quickly that it's a unique relationship. One, where you are husband, wife, and partners. 2, where you have 3 chefs that are in that group. And then that doesn't account for Rand, who's also a culinary trained chef who transitioned into a creative director. And then Ali, who's a food anthropologist. And so what you end up with is a space that can have a lot of really big opinions. And what we've all chosen time and time again is that we're doing it together, and we're willing to have those conflicts around what makes us feel good about that.
Who carries 51% of the vote, though?
No, so we don't do that. That's a good point. And we started that way.
Yeah.
But today what we do is we're essentially all kind of equal partners in those things. And whatever it is, you have to trust that your partners have the right perspective enough to where if they're telling you that it's the wrong thing and that you fundamentally believe it's the right thing, hopefully you're missing something, or you need to take a week, re-prepare something, and convince people of why, right? And that has happened a lot, right? We give everybody the option where any new project forward, if one of the partners vetoes it, we don't do it. And that has happened. And I think you have to sign up for that, right? But what you do by doing those sort of things is you're investing more further together, and it's not always equal, right? And there are definitely concepts that are more led by one or another, but the overall, we all have to have an equal weight and responsibility of what that looks like. In Emmer Rye Hospitality Group, at least it is different at Pullman, just because of time allocation and things like that. But in Emmer Rye, that's where we got to. It's not where we started; it's where we got to, and that was a whole thing too. I mean, think about it. During COVID, we really invested in growing the restaurant group and doing that together, and it switched from me being the majority owner of Emmer and Hestia to a group of partners, because that was more valuable than, us picking and doing separate things together.
You guys have a one-of-a-kind group. I want to make sure that I say this while I have you on the show, because we haven't talked in a while, which cigar night's very overdue.
Yeah.
But every time I've been to any of your restaurants, whether it's Hestia, Ladino, Emmer, it's always great. And I think you're able to execute at the highest level per concept. So whether it's a burger concept, it's best in class. Whether it's, Spanish tapas, it's best in class. In every single restaurant that you have, Mexican, best in class. And kudos to you and everyone on your team, because I don't know another group that could do that. And I'm even some of the greats. Some of the greats can't do that. They have the one great restaurant and the other ones are just okay. Every single one of your restaurants is fantastic. So kudos to you. Kudos to the team. I always tell people when they come, like, where should I go eat? Hestia, Emmer. Like, it's always one of your restaurants is usually always and has been on the list of recommendations since they've been open.
Thank you. Yeah, we're coming up on 10 years, so we have the anniversary. You'll have to come.
Yeah.
We got some really fun stuff planned for it. We're going to collaborate with Austin Food and Wine. I don't know when this will be out, but so it's 10 years. It's a great question. It's the same weekend as Austin Food and Wine. So
okay, so
help me edit that back in.
Yeah, I think that's November, right?
Yeah, it's in November, but I don't know the exact date.
Yeah.
The birthday is the 7th, but I don't think it's actually on the 7th.
So typically when we wrap up the show, it's like the Chef Geek questions. So what do they say? Like the fastball questions, right?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay. So what are you doing in your kitchen? Green tape or blue tape?
Oh, it's green tape.
It's green tape.
Yeah.
Is there a specific reason why or just preference?
Well, I think the blue tape comes off a little bit easier.
Yeah.
And we've had issues with that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And then I also think that the green is easier to see on.
I agree. Yeah. Is it scissors or tape cutters allowed?
Well, so it's tape cutters now. We started as scissors. The effectiveness of it switched us to tape cutters, but it's never a rip.
Yeah. Yeah. Fair. What's your plate wipe?
So Jorge Hernandez changed this for us, actually. There's these little, like, kind of towelettes that you just put a little bit of like alcohol on, and then we'll wipe. And so we have those at the pass for that. If you bring a plate to the pass that needs anything more than that, it's going to get sent back.
Yeah.
But they're great and they're effective. And you get a stack of about 100 of them. They're single use, put into a little space right after that.
Very cool. Then they're just little. Are they cloth?
Yeah. It's
like a chick towel.
They're actually like a small, it's like a chic towel fabric that's cut into these small little squares, and then it's a push little alcohol damp, and so when you push it down, it will put up a very, very small amount of raw alcohol, rubbing alcohol, and you just wipe the plate with it, which it dissolves right away, and you're done.
Oh shit! I need to see that.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah.
When you're in San Antonio.
Yeah. Next time I'm there, I'll go see you. What is when you're setting up your workstation, and this is a general question, so I'm sure there's specifics for dishes, but what's your finishing acid? Is it typically vinegar, or is it lemon, or is it something else?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm a nature person in this aspect, right? So I love finishing things with like lactic acid of what that item is to bring some form of acid to that. It really depends upon the dish and the season, right? If citrus is in season, there are a few things that are better than citrus.
Right.
If citrus is not in season, I don't want to use it. Then I've got vinegar that we've made or produced or something like that.
Yeah.
And what I will also say is I believe in redundancy throughout a menu. So if we're using an acid on a particular dish, it should be intentional for that thing, because otherwise, if you use that same exact acid throughout the entire menu, then your brain eventually becomes numb and dull to it. So just like the same ingredient, like I don't want lamb on the menu 14 times. If I'm going to finish something with lemon juice 14 times, my brain's going to filter it out.
Yeah. What about salt? What is it? Is it kosher? Is it? I'm sorry.
So
is it sea salt?
I'm a
Diamond crystal?
I'm a big reader on salt, and I believe that the biggest differences between salt are its imperfections and its crystallization. So if I'm using, and this is a thing in our kitchens, by the way, right? We have what are our 101 tenets. Every single time you come into an Emmer Rye Hospitality Group kitchen, this is the policy, right? So anything that is used in a sauce is Morton's kosher, because it's going to dissolve into that sauce, and what you want is the purity of that thing. And then finishing is where the diversity shows up, and it can be ground salt, it can be smoked salt, it can be flake salt, it can be Murray River into these sort of things, it can be that's where then the dish and the palate and how it eats will change into this. But I think that if you're going to dissolve something directly into water, you're just burning money if you're putting like this beautiful French gray sea salt into this thing. I'm sorry, it's just not a thing, right? The small amount of impurities that are in it, which is what you're really tasting, are so minimal that you can get that in a lot of other ways.
So your workhorse salt is going to be Morton's.
Morton's kosher. Yeah, we did. We vote on this, right? 'Cause it's not just me. So all the corporate chefs came together. We had some Diamond Crystal people. We had some Morton's things. We went through the whole thing and then resettled. We said, no, okay, because we want to make sure it's the same, we're going to stick with the Morton's. But the other reason is because in Grand Saline, Texas, there is an actual salt mine here. It's owned by the Morton's company. So if you're getting a lot of domestic salt, the likelihood of it coming from Texas, which for us is really important, is very high with Morton's.
Interesting. Is there something that you think that is unique in your kitchen that a lot of people could benefit from, like a technique or anything like that? Like for the cooks listening and say, hey, start doing this, your food will be instantly better. Or not instantly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So slightly longer here, but to me, I think if you think about why things are happening in a recipe, not just following the recipe to follow the recipe, but truly like what cause and reaction occurs at each step because of that, your understanding of it is significantly more, right? It's the same sort of thing. If you're driving a car and you're just focused on the drive every single time and you don't understand all the components and why the components go into that, your appreciation or your ability to adapt to seasonal changes is less. And so for us, we have recipes in grams, but your palate is always the thing that allows you to change that, right? Which is actually a really rare thing, right? If you think about it, most of the chefs are like, this is my recipe, don't mess with it. But produce is different. Meats are different. Seasons are different. So if we acknowledge that those things are constantly in flux, then that means that the end product that we're creating is also constantly in flux. And so for us, there is this training of here's how we do things and why we do things. And therefore, your fat or lipid to it can change. Your acid agent can change as long as you're getting to the same pH or the same emulsification or the same texture of those things. Now, you can't do that in our kitchens after a month, right? But after 2 or 3 years, we can have a real conversation about those things. And I think that's just different than how most people are really trained today. And you get a deeper understanding. And that, go out and read this book called Ingredient by Ali Bouzari. It's really short, and it talks about the scientific levels of food one step lower. And when you want crispiness or texture it's all quite easy to achieve if you think about it from a scientific level.
Last question, Chef. If you had a Mount Rushmore of 4 chefs that should be on there, who should those 4 chefs be?
It's a good question. I'll put Rene on there. I think that he was an incredibly instrumental chef. Thomas Keller, also incredibly instrumental chef. I've been privileged to be in both of their spaces and spend time. Much more. Either way, both incredible. If I'm looking at the past of these sort of things, I would say kind of Paul Bocuse, of course. I mean, these are big time classic. And then Ferran Adrien, just how these are all the biggest of the biggest of the big, which is unfortunate that it shows up that way. But what I think that they offer is this ability to dream a way that things could be and have the world follow them.
Yeah. Well said. Chef, where can people find you?
Kevin Fink TX on Instagram, but truly just come to the restaurants, spend time, go to Pullman Market. I'm there all the time. Do the side-by-side, have the seafood from the Gulf.
Thanks for coming on. I know how much you don't like being on podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I'm shy.
Yeah,
I really
I
am.
know.
You get me talking, but
Yeah. This is like 4 years overdue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it.
Good to see you, brother.
Good to see you too.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the show. You know what to do. Make sure you leave 5 stars if you're listening on Spotify or anywhere, really. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the like and subscribe button. I'd completely revamped the Chef's PSA store, shop.chefspsa.com. My team added a ton of new items. I advise you to go check it out. Just peruse, look around. Maybe you see something nice that you like. Keep supporting the show. Go to chefspsa.com. You get books, obviously the merch, early access to episodes on Substack and Spotify for premium members. We'll see you next week. Hit the porno music.
No, it's André in the kitchen, mixing, dropping chef knowledge, no fiction, stirring up the beats, heating up the session. Listen close, classes in session.